Hakkinen parking his car, already aiming it slightly towards Michael Schumacher, because that is the racing line, the slightly cleaner line.
Watch those lights. The usual procedure, I remind you, the 5 lights go on, one at a time. Then there is a pre-programmed pause by computer. The lights go out, and when the lights go out, the race begins.
We've got another yellow flag. That's Michael Schumacher. That is Michael Schumacher. Will he end up on the back of the grid? Look, he's shaking his head, look. Michael Schumacher, under the terms of the regulations, has to start this race from the back of the grid.
Well, if that is the case, Michael Schumacher has almost certainly lost the World Championship before this race even begins.
It's early days to say that.
It is, I know, but he's got to fight his way through from
look, here's John Todd.
He's not at all happy.
He'll be zooming up to see somebody up in race control or whatever, but I don't see there's anything he can do.
Well, if Michael Schumacher has stalled his engine and starts from the back of the grid, he's then got to fight past 20 cars. And even he, surely, is not going to be able to do that and get ahead of Mika Hakkinen.
Schumacher in the right frame of mind coming through the field. There's a long way to go yet. 2 laps less now, of course, because of these 2 false starts. But this could be one of the great drives.
Look, anything can happen. This is the beautiful part about Formula One. Really and truly, anything can happen. Irvine can do a blinding start, hold up the 2 McLarens for, 5 or 6 laps, give his teammate a chance to come through and have a go. Schumacher starting from the rear of the grid in the last Grand Prix. This will be a good drive, believe me, because if anyone can do it, this guy can do it.
I tell you what, you made the comments about changing your helmet for the last race. You do it for the start. I mean, isn't it weird how things like that do work?
Never go into a Grand Prix with a chrome helmet. The last one does. I've said this time and time again.
Okay. Well, of course, Fangio did it many years ago. With one of the great drives where he actually broke the lap record 16 times to go on to win the race at the Nürburgring, the famous race that he drove in. So maybe Schumacher can do it. Maybe Hakkinen now will just clear out, but whatever happens, it's going to be a pretty terrific motor race. All right, let's go back to Murray Walker and Martin Brundle for the 3rd time.
Championship positions, they want to be 5th if they can, and that's when he's going to start having some headaches. So Michael has got an awful lot of work to do, and this puts the pressure back on Mika Hakkinen, on Eddie Irvine, even harder to now carry the weight of the Ferrari team, certainly in the first half of this race, and take the fight to Mika Hakkinen. But of course Hakkinen has got Coulthard nicely in the way.
Yeah, if Eddie Irvine hypothetically could hold the McLarens up, it would enable Michael Schumacher to get through the field even quicker as a very downcast Jean Todt walks back to his Ferrari team position.
See, everything would have been so hot on all of the cars, and well, they've done all of that testing, Murray, in the last 5 weeks. But when you go testing, you do performance testing. Which tyres are we going to run? Which new aerodynamic package are we going to run? You don't troll around doing practice formation laps. That is a nightmare scenario that they would not have practiced.
Well, now, effectively, McLaren are on the front row of the grid for the 10th time this year. They've done it 9 times in normal circumstances with either Coulthard or Hakkinen in pole position. Mika Hakkinen usually there, but now you see the 2 McLarens up front. Eddie Irvine 3rd, 4th is Frentzen, 5th is Villeneuve, 6th is Ralf Schumacher, 7th is Damon Hill. In 8th position on the grid will be Alexander Wurz, and 9th his teammate Fisichella. The Benettons have not gone at all well here. Major handling problems, oversteer on the fast corners, understeer on the slow ones.
I wonder if Michael Schumacher's superstitious. He stalled that car at 13.13. I just noticed again. So Schumi there, we saw him shake his head.
Remember,
he knew the reality of what he'd just done.
I just remind you, yesterday you said I wouldn't be wearing a new crash helmet for this race only.
I would have worn a crash helmet. I'd have won a race in, and all the I didn't win a Grand Prix, but a sports car race or whatever, and any old piece of underwear I could remember wearing somewhere. But Michael wanted something special for the day he possibly won his 3rd World Championship, and well, it's all irrelevant. In reality, Murray, it was a mechanical problem. He pulled first gear, he jumped forward, and you can't say it's bad luck, because these things happen. There's always a reason for something to happen.
So there was Trulli, who was going to start last, and now he's starting last but 1. Be sure that we will keep you in touch with the progress of Michael Schumacher as he climbs up through the field.
Well, Hakkinen hasn't got away yet. Nobody's got away to start this Grand Prix. It's quickly turning into a bit of a farce to get these cars off down the road. But Michael Schumacher, remember, has got to win the race.
So watch the lights, and now effectively pole position on the left is Mika Hakkinen. 4 lights, 5 lights, and it's go. Now watch carefully, they're all getting away this time. Mika Hakkinen leads, and Eddie Irvine is up into second place already.
Yes,
Eddie Irvine, fantastic start, and he knows Suzuka like the back of his hand. Remember what he did last year as David Coulthard is down from second to fourth, because it's Frentzen who's passed him up into third position. 2 changes already, but Mika Hakkinen is where he needs to be, up at the front of the field with a Ferrari behind him. A marvellous start by Eddie Irvine.
Yes, both McLaren seemed to bog down a little bit, and then Coulthard moved across the road. He knew he'd had a bad getaway, trying to block the route through, and Irvine making a very good start. There, you're on board with Coulthard behind the Williams. That is a very poor situation for McLaren, and they'll be somewhat relieved that Michael Schumacher's down at the back of the field. It'll be interesting to see just exactly where Michael comes round at the end of the first lap. We'll keep an eye on that. But meanwhile, Hakkinen already putting clear air back to Eddie Irvine.
Yeah, there is Irvine, and Mika Hakkinen, of course, has got a clear track in front of him. All the pressure is off him, and he's got the pressure of the race itself, but the Schumacher pressure, which he must have been worried about, is off. So it's Irvine second, Villeneuve third, Coulthard fourth, Heinz-Harald Villeneuve.
Get a glimpse of him in the background. Schumi must have had a storming first corner.
So into the chicane, right, left, Hakkinen, Irvine. You can see that David Coulthard is right up behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen's Williams over the line. 1 lap completed, they go. There's Irvine through. David Coulthard, then Villeneuve. Damon Hill is in 6th position, and he started down in 8th place, and Damon Hill is swarming all over Villeneuve. So
Schumacher 12.
There,
Schumacher 12.
He's ahead of the stewards.
That's Barrichello.
Barrichello. He's up behind Olivier Panis now. Look at the Scarlet car, and here's the start of Michael Schumacher. We're on lap 2 now. Michael Schumacher, look at him, straight through between Tuero and Trulli. This is where a brilliant racing driver like him just finds the space. But Mika Hakkinen now 1.5 seconds ahead of Eddie Irvine at the end of the first lap.
Well, either Schumi had a stunning start, either he jumped it, or those around him were a bit gormless because they just didn't seem to be ready for the start. Schumacher there just driving through them like they were a bunch of beginners.
Irvine certainly not losing ground there. In fact, the gap that's increasing is between Irvine second, Frentzen third, who's still got Coulthard virtually attached to his gearbox. And look at Michael Schumacher now in 11th position. So he's made 2 places since Martin told you where he was at the end of that first lap. Searing his way through the field. Now, he's coming up to Jean Alesi in the Sauber. Now, here we are, Hakkinen. Irvine is keeping him in sight. Then it's Frentzen. Then it's Coulthard. Behind Coulthard is Villeneuve. Behind Villeneuve, the 2 Jordans. Damon Hill 6th, Schumacher 7th. That's Ralph Schumacher.
Oh, and Frentzen getting out of shape in the chicane there. No way through for Coulthard. But that is definitely putting Coulthard way back from the position he needs to be in. And that's ahead of Irvine at best, and certainly at least on his gearbox. So
Irvine
Coulthard getting held up. Irvine 0.4 of a second faster. You're right, Murray.
Yep, Eddie Irvine on that second lap is just 0.4 of a second quicker than Mika Hakkinen. He has closed the gap. Now, I'm looking back through the field to see where Michael Schumacher is. 10th position at the end of the second lap. So he's gained 11 places out of 21 in 2 laps. He is going to be up with the quick men very shortly indeed. He'll go past Fisichella and Wurz in their Benettons, and they are 9th and 10th. I imagine without too much of a problem, but then he is up with Damon Hill, his old sparring partner. Hill was in the Williams and Schumacher in the Benetton in the old days. It's going to be Ferrari and Jordan now, but there is Hakkinen leading, and Eddie Irvine has still got him well in sight, but there is a 4.3 second gap between Hakkinen, who's leading, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who's second.
And that looked like a Williams going past the Benetton, so let's look down the field. That must have been...
I think it's Schumacher. I think it's Schumacher.
Yeah, it's Schumi passing Fisichella.
He's not past Fisichella. So Schumacher is up into 9th position. He's just got Alexander Wurz. Now, you are seeing a meteoric drive by Michael Schumacher. There it is. And in front of him now is Alexander Wurz in the blue Benetton. And he is in 8th position.
Dinitz is off the track somewhere. I'm not expecting any kind of pace car situation, but you see Michael Schumacher homing in under braking into the last chicane. Too far behind to have a go this time, but he'll soon be right up there with Wirtz, as you can see, and his brother Ralph.
Yeah, his brother Ralph, and it's going to be a question, will Ralph move over and let him through? No, of course he won't, because it's Ralph Schumacher's last race for the Jordan team, and he wants to do just as well as his brother does.
Right, this is the first tough car, really. We're into the top 5 teams now that Schumacher's got to pass. He's passed one of the Benettons, as you've already seen, but now it starts to get harder from here.
Yeah, Wirtz is a very tough, determined, comparatively inexperienced driver, but he will know it. Schumacher behind him, and right up with him comes Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari as they come up to the Dunlop. What a move! And there's smoke.
Ralph is
smoking
smoking
from Ralph Schumacher's car. Ralph Schumacher looks as though he's in trouble already. They've got the new Mugen engine, the more powerful one. It went well in qualifying.
Way too. There you see in the background Dinitz's car off at the hairpin, so that's not going to cause too many problems.
Yeah, I think Diniz has just given up. I don't mean that unkindly, but he wasn't feeling at all well. He was having dizzy spells yesterday, and I suspect it's just too much for him, and he's very sensible to
look at Irvine.
Look at Eddie Irvine. Lap 4 out of 51 now, remember. As coming towards us come Frentzen and Coulthard, 3rd and 4th. Jacques Villeneuve in the much-modified Williams is in 5th place. Coulthard attacking. Coulthard
needs to make this move if he's going to do his team job this afternoon. Coulthard needs to clear that Williams and go up there and give his teammates some support, because he's coming from under increasing pressure from Irvine. Irvine could be on a 3-stopper and a little bit lower in fuel, probably 15, 16 kilos of fuel less, and that'll give him half a second a lap advantage, so Irvine needing to make it count if that is in fact the case, but Hakkinen looking well under control.
Yeah, very tight window between 2 and 3 stops. The first stop for a 3-stopper would be round about lap 13. The first stop for a 2-stopper would be round about lap 18. So it's going to be difficult, and it's part of the tactical plans of some of the teams to confuse their rivals about whether they're on a 2-stop or a 3-stop strategy. But meantime, Eddie Irvine, 2-stop or 3-stop, is driving out of his skin, because he's 6.5 seconds ahead of Frentzen, who is 3rd, and you can see how close he is to race leader Mika Hakkinen.
Michael Schumacher is just 12.1 seconds behind race leader Mika Hakkinen. So Schumacher just 12 seconds behind. And there he's passed Ralph. Schumacher, I believe, has passed Ralph and now cruising up behind Damon Hill. So Hakkinen has not won this by any means. If you thought it was all over with Schumacher on the back of the grid, think again.
Just think what it would have been like if he'd started from pole position, but he's obviously finding reserves that even he didn't think he'd got, as he comes up to Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve. Jacques Villeneuve in the red Williams, Damon Hill in the yellow Jordan, Michael Schumacher in the scarlet Ferrari. This is lap 5 out of 51. 1/10th distance already in this incredible race to decide the World Championship. And Michael Schumacher is up with Damon Hill now as they come down to the chicane. Now the Ferrari should have superior speed, even though the Mugen Honda has got more power than it's had before.
Well, Michael's passing them everywhere, isn't he? Under braking, around the outside. He's got good straight line speed. It'll be difficult to pass Hill down the pit straight, but he might have a stab up the inside. It's tough in there because the racing line closes down very quickly to the inside. But Schumacher's just not going to be long getting past any of these guys.
But look, you see the 2 ahead, Frentzen and
significantly Coulthard, of course, Hakkinen's teammate. So Coulthard will have a job to do again there as Schumacher screams through the pack. Hill out of shape at the bottom of the hill for Dunlop, and Michael tries again up the inside, but Hill's not going to take that one quite as easy.
And Damon Hill is 6th. Michael Schumacher is in 7th position. And look how close it is. And now Michael Schumacher has really got his hands full, because it's world champion, double Japanese Grand Prix winner, Damon Hill in the Jordan in front of him.
And not a lot of love, is there, between those two? No, he's not going to get through there. Hill's not going to fall for that one too easily. But remember, Hill's not the greatest fan of Michael Schumacher around. He must still be bitter about that World Championship encounter in Adelaide. And really, Damon will not be making this easy for Michael Schumacher. No. Schumacher's given him a verbal hiding in the past, and no.
Just 1.5 seconds. Damon has a look at Villeneuve. Michael Schumacher.
Shuey's going to get a run now. Shuey's going to get a run at Damon. Damon keep it to the right, but Shuey will go straight down the outside, and Damon braking nice and late. So Damon having to lift off. He got so close behind the Williams, and it gave Michael a run, but he couldn't do anything with it.
No, meantime, I'm looking at the gap because it was 12.5 seconds between Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher.
Watch Shuey look. No, the gap closes too much again.
And the gap is increasing. Hakkinen is pulling away. It's 14.8 seconds. Schumacher is, of course, being held up by the Jordan, by the Williams. And then he's got to close up, even assuming he gets past them, with David Coulthard and Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who are third and fourth. Remember, Eddie Irvine is still second. He's dropping back from Mika Hakkinen. We haven't seen them lately, but the gap between Hakkinen and Irvine on lap 7, which is where we are now, is 2.1 seconds. And Mika Hakkinen is well and truly on the course for his first ever World Championship.
And the other problem for Michael Schumacher is this is hurting his tyres a lot. Following close up behind so many cars so early in the race makes the car slide more, and you have to brake late. You start locking wheels and moving around on parts of the racetrack you wouldn't normally be on, and your tyres get damaged, and suddenly Shuey's pace has been slowed.
Yeah, it's Villeneuve that's the problem. This car has been changed a lot, the Williams, and it's better than it was, but he's having... Hakkinen is on his 7th lap. They all are.
Well, look here, you've got the 97 champion in front of the 96 champion and the 95 champion trying to make his way through for the 98 championship, if you can make
look
any
at the way
sense
you
of
see
that.
what I was saying about Villeneuve holding him up. You can tell that Ralf Schumacher in the background is closing up on his brother in the second yellow Jordan. So Michael Schumacher is sandwiched between the two Jordans now. And incidentally, at the present moment, Williams are looking very good for holding their third place in the Constructors' Championship.
Yes, coming to the pit, so Irvine clearly it was on a lighter fuel. That'll help Michael Schumacher. So Schumacher also on a 3-stopper, and Irvine too. That'll take the pressure completely off of Hakkinen. Now McLaren have got to hope, but Frentzen comes in early too.
Yeah, but Damon Hill is out of the way as far as Michael Schumacher is concerned. And bang goes Schumacher's engine. Ralf Schumacher out, and flames from the back. Ralf Schumacher, the first major retirement from the Japanese Grand Prix, and that's going to damage Jordan's chances of finishing third in the Constructors' Championship, as Damon Hill, just a 9.4 second stop, last out of the pit lane. Now they're coming in thick and fast, so this is lap 14. It rather looks to me as though they are on a 3-stop strategy. Yes. Very early if they're not. And he needs to be finishing at minimum second, even if Mika Hakkinen is in major trouble.
Schumacher's passed Villeneuve. Schumacher has somehow passed Villeneuve. As soon as Hill got out of the way, Schumacher used his clear speed and is now up to 5th. James, are you in the pits?
Yes, it's all played into Michael Schumacher's hands nicely. Eddie Irvine, though, just coming in. I'm looking for evidence of damage to those front right tyres. Doesn't look too good to me, but well, he's back in the race. But Michael Schumacher has now had all the aces fall into place for him. Keep an eye out for him.
What an incredible development. Michael Schumacher then moving up through the field. Here is Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Behind him is David Coulthard, and behind him is Schumacher, as David Coulthard has another go. So Michael Schumacher, incredible, third position. Good heavens. Lap 16, and look at the way he's eating up the distance between him and the Williams. He's going to go past Frentzen.
Yes, well, Frentzen's third, it's Coulthard fourth, and Michael Schumacher currently in 5th place. As you see the second of the Benettons on the same tyres as race leader Mika Hakkinen. And look how close Schumacher is now to David Coulthard. So Coulthard's got a job on his hands now to keep that Ferrari behind him as long as he can.
And that'll take the pressure right off Heinz-Harald, not right off, but off Heinz-Harald Frentzen, because David Coulthard's got to bet the same. Here we are, here's the replay of Villeneuve being passed by Michael Schumacher, exiting the spoon.
That's not easy to get around it's not the spoon, it's the hairpin, but it's not easy to get there. But Villeneuve getting well out of shape on the way out, had to get back out of the throttle, and Michael said, I'll have that, thank you very much.
And up a place he goes. Mika Hakkinen, meantime, has made another fastest lap of the race. He's just gone round in 1:41.2, and that is just about 2 seconds off the lap record. And he's now leading Eddie Irvine by 6.8. And
pull off, Mika. Don't go, that's right, take the inside line there, go through the grass. Do not go through 130R with an ailing car. Very smart move. And Schumi comes in the pits. He's not going to get held up by that McLaren. They're not going to let McLaren play that game.
Good tactic.
Schumi coming in on lap 16. which is neither at the end of 16, and that's neither a two-stopper or a three-stopper. James?
Tremendous speed coming down the pit lane from Michael Schumacher. We've seen him do it all weekend. He's been practicing it. He saved himself a couple of seconds there. His tyres, Martin, as you would expect, are fairly heavily used, but there's a tremendous atmosphere down here.
Wow.
They really feel there's a challenge at hand.
6.8 seconds. That's by far the fastest time we've had so far. Eddie Irvine took 7.7. Damon Hill took 9.4. Michael Schumacher has made his first stop and is very, very much in this motor race. Mika Hakkinen's got to be reliable. Now, the fastest lap we've had then is 1:42. I'm expecting Michael Schumacher on new tyres now, on lap 17 out of 51 to go for that.
Yes, but it's tempting to use that extra grip on the first couple of laps. You take a lot of life out of the tyres. Sometimes you just have to go a little bit easy and make them stretch them out through the whole stint. Otherwise, you can damage them very, very quickly, even in a half a dozen corners.
Listen.
And that's Shuey. Who's he coming up behind there?
Well,
Looks
listen
like
to the engine.
Lacey in 7th place. So Michael's, who was in 7th before Schumacher's pit stop. So Lacey 6th. Michael Schumacher rejoins in 7th place.
So there are Frentzen and Coulthard as we look down on
yes,
the...
it's Hakkinen in the pits. Look, Hakkinen, I think, yes, in the pit lane.
So
Mika
let's see
Hakkinen
if
through for his
Schumacher's-
first scheduled stop.
Let's see if Schumacher gains time. His pit stop was 6.8 seconds. There's Hakkinen's time ticking away on the left.
There's
And
Irvine.
there is the Ferrari.
No, Hakkinen's going to get out. Hakkinen's going to keep track position, but of course Irvine's flying on his new tyres, and that's worked out fine. That's worked out absolutely fine, and now Mika's got a new set of boots to go with it. But Irvine, meanwhile, does another quick lap, a 1:41.0 is now
Fastest
flashes
of the
up in
race.
front of you. So Irvine is enjoying this second set of tyres very much.
And that's 1.2 seconds. That's a searing lap. 1.2 seconds slower than last year's lap record by Frentzen in a car which was much faster. In comes Jacques Villeneuve from 5th. Michael Schumacher then has already passed the Williams.
New fastest lap for Michael Schumacher, 40.2. That's miles quicker than anything else. So Michael Schumacher also on a charge on the fresh boots.
And that is just 1 second outside the lap record too. There's the proof, and so now we're on lap 19 as Mika Hakkinen. Is he going to be held up by the traffic with Eddie Irvine behind him? It's a quick...
It's the Minardi in
It's a
front of him.
Minardi in front of him. So that will be Shinji Nakano.
Yeah, so a bad outlap here for Hakkinen. He really needed a nice clear run. Got a lot of traffic ahead.
You know, it's quite an important day for Michael here, and for us it's very difficult to even finish in a point, so I can't understand that.
Thanks, Ralph.
It's not completely over for Michael Schumacher yet. He's got a storming pace out there. OK, he's got a mountain to climb, but it's not over yet. And I think when Ralph has time to go, obviously Louise has caught him walking back to the pits. When he goes back in and sees the computer and thinks it through, there is still a glimmer of a chance for his brother to take his 3rd World Championship. And there you see it again, Michael Schumacher, another blistering lap.
Yeah, and
40.1.
Hakkinen is well and truly in the traffic now. Yes, it's traffic which is going to affect Michael Schumacher just as much, but I suspect that when they see that red Ferrari coming up behind them, they'll move over even quicker for him. Meantime, we're on lap 20 now out of 51 as you look at Mika Hakkinen coming up behind Olivier Panis, who is in 12th place to lap the Prost.
And Irvine having a terrible job getting past the Minardi. So Irvine not having a good run through the traffic. I'll just watch and see. He lost over a second. And he's still tucked up. It's behind a Tyrrell now. So Irvine's struggling through the traffic. He'll nail that one quite easily up the inside.
Takagi.
No problem. But, has Takagi seen him? Only just at the last moment. So Irvine now clear of that traffic, but it didn't work well.
Tora Takagi having a bit of a battle of his own with Esteban Tuera. They've both been lapped. Here is Mika Hakkinen. He's now ahead of Rubens Barrichello.
Look at this, Murray. Coulthard 3rd. He got out of the pits ahead of Frentzen, so Coulthard now clear of the Williams and absolutely flying. McLaren will be relieved about that. Coulthard can start getting after this man Irvine, and he's still got track position over Michael Schumacher. Something like 21.7 seconds in hand So I was a little bit ahead of myself there. Coulthard, and he's in the pit lane. So this is an important stop. He should be able to do this with a total loss of 19 seconds and give him track position over Frentzen. That's why the quick laps are coming from Coulthard. He had some clear air for the first time in the race, and that is a nice stop.
Seconds.
I think it might just work out.
Yeah, that's not a brilliant stop, but it's a very, very good one now.
Yes.
We missed it.
No, I think I'm looking out the window and I saw Frentzen come through. I think Coulthard will be up to the third position. I'd already given him.
So anyway,
look, who's this? That's Schumacher going across.
Doing what he did yesterday.
No.
He did that twice yesterday.
No.
He went off at exactly the same point.
Yeah, it's not going to damage anything. Look,
yes,
I mean, he's
falling out of the car.
No, that's his right front tyre locked up, It's stationary and the car's moving forwards. It tends to generate a bit of smoke, but bouncing along, it won't do any great problems underneath. It looks a bit messy, but he lost a lot of time collecting it up. Look, he's having an awful afternoon,
exactly
isn't he?
the same thing happened twice.
Look, he's struggling again into the hairpin. Sorry to interrupt, Murray, but he struggled again to slow the car down into the hairpin. That pace he put on when he first had those new tyres on has really caned the front tyres.
Very, very hard for Michael Schumacher. That stall on the grid has obviously cost him dearly, starting from last in the race and then having to force at this tremendous pace. Lap 22, coming up to half distance. Here is race leader Mika Hakkinen going through and starting his 24th lap. Eddie Irvine, you can still see the Ferrari in the background, but the gap between the McLaren in the lead and the Ferrari in second place of Eddie Irvine is over 6 seconds. David Coulthard, then Michael Schumacher. It's getting fairly spread out now, and it's looking very good indeed for Mika Häkkinen's World Championship chances.
The pressure's releasing for Mika Hakkinen, but he's got to keep his concentration. This seems like a good time to take a break. We'll be back after these retail opportunities.
In the Tyrrell, who's next ahead, the Japanese driver.
He's locked his wheels again, but I think he'll recover that one and just get it turned in. He does, but Michael is pushing incredibly hard. He's still got a sniff of this. 21 seconds behind the leader. He did stop sooner than Hakkinen. They may have been able to put some fuel in to make it onto a two-stop strategy like the race leader Mika Hakkinen. So there is still a small chance of victory and a world championship here. But Schumacher still needs to catch that gap up and use Eddie Irvine. Lost another second there in this traffic you're seeing, locking up his wheels. Just as he disappeared out of view for this replay, he was well sideways again. Michael Schumacher on the ragged edge.
Yeah, and he went past Tora Takagi's Tyrrell like a bullet out of a gun. A lot more power from the Ferrari engine, some 800 horsepower, they say, than the Ford V10 in the Tyrrell. But even so, it was a fantastic quick pass. So he goes under the overpass, up to the hairpin, the slowest corner on the course, second gear, about 45 miles an hour. Now drops down the double right-hander at turns 12 and 13. Building up to about 175, 180 miles an hour. And here is Mika Hakkinen going into the chicane to complete his 26th lap. So he's done half the race. He's got the other half still to go. Eddie Irvine has reduced the gap from just about 6.1 seconds to 5.9 seconds. But it's still a pretty comfortable cushion for Mika Hakkinen, race leader, who this season has been in absolutely magnificent form.
Welcome back. As we say, anything can happen in Formula One that has. The two Japanese drivers take themselves out here.
Yeah, the two J models getting a bit confused over a bit of real estate. It just comes right in and closes the door and bang, off they go. So the two representatives in the country's home Grand Prix are out.
Well, it'll be a disappointing one for them to happen. And watch the universal sign come up here, because backs it up. It says thanks very much.
Yeah, I don't think he was saying you're number one.
I'm not sure he was saying hello, but there they are, both in the sand trap, and that'll be a very disappointing time for them. Suzuka, their own home Grand Prix, coming off, and a lot of explanations now to go back to the boss. And of course, it's Tyrrell's last race, so not a way, only one car in the race, not a way to end their illustrious Grand Prix lifespan over a time when they had Jackie Stewart, triple world champion, and so many cars. Now, this is the other big moment. This is the time that Michael Schumacher has lost the World Championship.
Yeah, I mean, not a good way to learn, not a good way to finish here in Grand Prix, a very unauspicious way for Goodyear to end their Grand Prix career with a blown tyre, so disappointment all around.
Well, I should say lost his chance at the World Championship, because Villeneuve is still the champion until after this race, but the tyre just blew out, and Schumacher, unfortunately, just straight off the road. And we'll show you a replay of what happened because it's damaged the bodywork. Car is pushed aside. And Michael Schumacher, what a gallant drive. Remember, he started in second, in dead set last place off the grid. Now, here it is, Jonesy, and gone.
Yep, right rear tyre just blows. Now, whether that's... he may have run over a bit of debris from the Japanese crash. I mean, to give Goodyear their dues, probably that's more likely what would have happened. But either way, he's paid the price. And at the end of a fantastic drive, because nobody could have come from the rear of the field like that. Only just a very forceful, good drive. He's got the chrome helmet next to him on the fence.
Yeah, from last place to second. Now, Hakkinen has been into the pits. We'll bring you up to date after 33 laps. Hakkinen, Irvine, Coulthard, Frentzen, Hill and Villeneuve. They're the top runners. What had happened, Hakkinen went in, made a stop of 7.2 seconds, came out and still in front of Irvine, and that's about the gap that's been maintained there. But, Jonesy, they'll talk about that drive for a long time, from dead set last place on the grid to finally come through and be second place to go out that way. But Hakkinen, he's done nothing wrong.
Well, he's utilised the equipment that's been given to him, and he's going to end up by being world champion because of it, and good luck to him. It's, you know, he was the one that I wanted to be world champion. I would have loved Ferrari to have come through, but Mika was the guy that I wanted to see. But Daz, unfortunately, it's not over yet, so we may not put the Maccas on him.
Well, I said earlier, anything can happen in Formula One, and normally does. Right, let's go back to Murray Walker and Martin Brundle.
In the Tyrrell, got together, and there was a lot of debris on the racetrack, a lot of carbon fibre. I wouldn't be at all surprised if that's not where Michael Schumacher picked up that puncture. McLaren pitting Hakkinen immediately after that, just in case he got the same problem.
Frentzen in from fourth. Remember, he got Damon Hill right.